Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show tonight. Tonight we have a special guest, Nate Manzor Williams, one of the first youths into Department of Corrections at the age of 17 in Southern California, Los Angeles. Uh, we have a special treat for you guys tonight. We want you guys to observe and listen to what this brother had to say. He got a story for you that it can happen to anybody. So we want to bring on Nate Williams and welcome you to the show. Welcome to the show, my brother.
Thank you.
All right. Glad to have you on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a long journey for me, 32 years inside, 3 years out here, just discharged last November. And the things that put me in that situation was that my father was an alcoholic. He used to abuse my mom a lot. So I woke up as a kid always to police in the house or my mom screaming and then going to school and worrying about her. So I never could really concentrate in school. And I can remember when I was 8 years old, my father came to me and said he was divorcing my mom and he was leaving, going back to Alabama.
You were 8 years old?
8 years old. So I couldn't, at that age, 8 years old, I couldn't understand why he wasn't taking me with him. As a man, he told me to be the man in the house and take care of my mom and my sister. As a kid, I was thinking that he should have took me with him, but he was leaving. So those emotions that I was feeling at that time, I didn't know how to describe them or to express them, but they were, I felt unloved, unwanted, and rejected. So I didn't know what to do with it. Nobody ever came to me and asked me how was I feeling about the divorce or nothing. So when he left, I'm looking at what really is a man. I thought he was a man, but he was leaving me, so I didn't want to be like him. My mom used to get up early in the morning, like 4 o'clock in the morning. She worked for Hughes Aircraft, and she would come home late. She worked overtime, so I didn't want to be like her. I looked at the negative images in the neighborhood, which was the gang members and the drug dealers. They get up when they want to get up. They was having money, cars, girls. I was attracted to that.
Right.
So,
right.
But I was always pushed away from that. 8 years old, I used to want to go. I used to be from Ludus Park, the Parus in Compton, and my aunt used to babysit me and my sister. And maybe about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I would have to walk my sister home, and we used to pass by this park where all these gang members was at. And every time I ever tried to go over there, this one guy used to always tell me, "No, don't come over here. Don't come." He used to keep me away. And this one day I was by myself. My sister didn't go to school that day, so I was walking, and I heard music, and I seen people over there. It was like the music, the beat was like enticing me to come over there. So I went over there. And the same gentleman put me on the handlebars on his bike and rolled me home. And he said, they just called me Lil June. I don't want you over here. And he dropped me off in front of my house. And when he left to go back to the bar, he was gunned down by some Crips, some rivalry gang members. And at that point, it was like, I felt like he saved my life. Because if I would have been with him,
You've probably been involved.
yeah, I probably would have been with him to get shot up too. So I was like, I felt like I had to do something to avenge his death because he probably saved my life. And there was nobody to stop me from joining the gang when he was murdered. So I joined the gang I was about eight and a half years old. And
You was 8.5 years old when you joined
I was
the gang?
8.5 years old.
Wow, yeah.
I was doing things, I was basically doing everything that they didn't want to do. And when I got in, I thought it was something, but when I got in, it was totally different from what I thought it was. I mean, some of the things I enjoyed doing, but a lot of it I didn't. But once you get in the gang, you can't get out when you're a kid. You have to just go through the motions and just put on the mask and be tough.
Right.
So I went through the motions, and then I started going to jail for petty stuff. I think I went to jail 3 times for petty stuff. And my uncle, one of my uncles, was taking a liking to me. He's like, "Look, I see you getting in trouble. You need to hang out with me, and I want to talk to you." So he was, schooling me, and we was going places. He was taking time out with me, and I was listening to him. I wasn't hanging out.
This is your uncle?
This is my uncle,
Okay.
my mother, brother.
Okay.
So one day I was walking to the store by my house, and one of my homeboys, he stayed like 2 doors away from us. He was running down the street, and he had a radio, and I was asking, I said, "Let me use your radio. When I come back, I'll bring it to your house." He said, "All right." He threw the radio at me, kept running. So I go around the corner, and these were sheriffs. They swooped on me. handcuffed me, put me in the car, took me to an area, and this lady kept saying, "That's not him. He's too light skinned. The guy that did it is dark skinned."
Mm-hmm.
So these sheriffs took me in the alley. They jumped out, put on these black gloves, pulled me out the car, and said, "We're gonna whoop." Can I cuss?
Sure.
He said, "We're gonna whoop your ass if you don't tell us who we're looking for."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Well, y'all just gonna have to do it because I'm not telling." They said, "Okay, we're gonna take you to jail." I said, "Take me to jail? I ain't did nothing." So they took me to jail. My mother came and got me. I got out. But when it was time for me to go to court, the public defender kept saying, "We know you didn't do this, but the judge is not gonna believe you because you've been arrested 3 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not gonna believe you." Had I known that if I would have went to trial, this lady would have probably came back and said the same thing. No,
Right.
that's not him.
Right.
He's
right.
too light skinned.
Right.
But I wasn't thinking. I didn't know my rights at that age. So
How old were you then?
I was 12 years old.
Mhm.
12 years old.
Mhm.
So he convinced me to take a plea bargain for 20 days in juvenile hall. And I agreed. I said,
Is
okay.
that right?
I said, I'll take 20 days from my homeboy, right? So when I walked up in the sentencing, the judge sentenced me to 6 months. It went from 20 days, they tricked me. It wasn't 20 days when the judge sentenced me, it was 6 months in a county probation program for juveniles.
Wow, is that right?
Yeah. So I immediately became bitter at my homeboy because he knew that I didn't do it, but that I was going away for 6 months. I became bitter at my uncle. Even though he was telling me the right things to do, even when I was doing the right things,
Mm-hmm.
I still wound up getting in trouble. And basically, I just gave up on life,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I did that 6 months, and I came home. I was very bitter.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't care about nobody. I didn't even
Right.
care about my life.
Right.
And I was a gang member, so I started escalating into gang activities, selling drugs, and I like lowriders, classic cars. So I had two lowriders.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, it was just like a stock 63 Chevy. And then I had a 64 Chevy.
Mm-hmm.
It was a showpiece lowrider, but everything on the car, I stole. I took this rivalry gang member car. He had a 64 Chevy. It was 2 twins. I took their car, took everything off their car, put it on my 64 Chevy, and I pushed their car right in front of my mother's house because I wanted them to know
It
I
was
took
the rival gang members car right in front of your mother's house?
because I wanted them to know I took their car. But that's how I was thinking because I didn't care about my life or nobody else. Like I gave up on life, you know, because I didn't see no way, I didn't see no future. You know, I was just angry and bitter, and nobody really asked me what was really going on mentally with me that age. So they eventually found out I took the car. They were scared to come to my house, so they brought the Compton gang task force to my house. Task force came to the back of my yard. The car was in my backyard. Me and my homeboy was working in the back doing stuff. And it was 2 Compton gang task force came back to the fence and the Crips behind them. And we immediately put our guns. And then they put our guns in back. They said, just put the guns away. We just want to talk. So we put the guns away. They came. I let them come in the property. They looked at the car. They said, look, we know that we know that a lot of stuff on this car is stolen and belongs to them. We're gonna either take you to jail for receiving stolen property, or we're gonna give you a chance to take everything off that car, and we're gonna put it in boxes. And we're gonna come back tomorrow with a big truck, and we're gonna put this stuff in the truck and take it to them guys, so we'll stop this war from happening.
This is what the inspector said?
This is the gang task force.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Crips and Bloods been fighting at that time, right?
Right.
So in my mind, I'm thinking criminally. I said, okay, come back tomorrow. I have this stuff, but I wasn't gonna get this stuff up. I'm not giving this car up.
Right.
So I told my homeboy, get in the car. We took the car to my uncle's house, put it in his garage, took it off the street. I can't drive no more. The Crips wanted and the police wanted too. So I go call, this was Compton Task Force. I go call the sheriffs. I go to a store, I call the sheriff, they come out, they say, what's going on? I said, I went in the store, left my keys in the car, somebody stole my car. They, oh, you can't do that. You know, that's wrong. I said, okay. But they give me a police report saying my car was stolen, even though I was lying.
It's what the
sheriffs
sheriff
gave me a police report saying my car was stolen.
Yeah.
So the next day, when the gang task force from Compton came, they had a big truck and they was ready. And I said, the car is gone. I went to the store when y'all left. Somebody stole the car. They thought the rivalry Crip members took the car. Right. So I was like, I don't know. I just know the car is gone. But prior to that, the gang task force was in both neighborhoods watching. So wasn't nothing going on. The police is just watching people, right? So when the car came up missing, it seemed like the gang task force backed all the way up and watched this stuff happen, you know, and it was start at my house because I'm the one that put the car in front of my mother's house.
Right,
So they
right.
knew where I lived at. I didn't know where they lived at.
Right.
So they would come down, drive down my street. If they seen me, they shooting, they gunning. We gunning back. They killed 2 homeboys from me, but one from my neighborhood and one from another neighborhood, but they both was blood, and we killed about 2 or 3 of them. They kept going back and forth. And then I started seeing that my little cousins and family members was in the yard when this stuff was going on. So I'm like, you know what? This is getting out of hand, right? And I said, it's only happening because of me, right? And I thought, what's the farthest I can go to remove myself from this situation? And I thought about my father. He moved to Alabama when I was a kid, and he was never there for me in my life, but I still viewed him as my father, right? So I called him, and I explained to him, it's a matter of life and death. I need to move. I need to come out there to Alabama to get away from all this. Either I'm going to go to jail or I'm going to still have to kill him. It was just crazy. I was just panicking. And he kept saying, look, really think about it, because it's not a lot of jobs out here. It's slow. It's country. He didn't really want me to come out there, right? So I hung the phone up, and I started crying because I knew I was going to have to continue killing. I knew there's a possibility I was going to go to prison for a long time. I just knew it. I seen it. I felt it. And then I walked around the corner to one of my other older homeboys' house. He had a shack in the back of his garage where blood members from all over Los Angeles come and play dominoes and sell drugs. And we was in there playing dominoes, and I was talking about, you know, I needed this money. I wanted to get on this plane and go, you know, out to Alabama to get away from this. And my older homeboy said, man, if you go take this other guy's car, because he was a low rider too. He wanted this guy dating wires off his car. So he said, if you go take this guy Date's wheels, I'll give you the money. So I said, okay, let's go.
He give you money to leave.
Yeah, to get on the plane. I mean, if I was thinking, I could have sold. I had 2 cars. I could have sold the cars. I had guns. I had stereo equipment. I could have sold material things, but I wasn't thinking. I was thinking like, I need to leave right now, today. So he agreed to give us the money, and then my crime, I didn't really know him. He was a blood from another neighborhood, but he was just playing down. He said, man, let me go watch your back. Let me go watch your back. I said, okay. So he took my older homeboy took me and my crime to the scene. It was a restaurant. The car was right there. The victim and his brother was standing there, and he dropped my older homeboy dropped us off, and me and my crime approached this victim and asked him for the cars asking for the keys to the car. And, you know, I'm 17 years old. This is a grown man. He didn't want to give up his car. He didn't really think he was serious. And I got all this stuff going on with my father in my head. And I pulled a gun out of my pocket, put it back in there and showed him, like, you know, I was serious. And it was on a boulevard, so there was a lot of cars kept going by. And something took my attention away like this. And when I turned back, he tried to take the gun actually away from me. So we were wrestling, fighting over this gun, and while we was wrestling, he had tore a piece of my jacket. The material was in his hand. So I was able to back up, and I could have walked away. But he had like a smirk on his face, and then I got this stuff going on with my father. It was like a bucket of water that was bubbling with rage, humility, because he didn't want to give me the keys to the car, and it just exploded with me shooting him twice in the chest. I didn't mean to kill him, but he died, and I feel today that if anybody should have died, it should have been me, because I value life, and my family can enjoy me out here today, but his family can't, and I caused that. So that's something that I have to live with. Like I said, if I could go back, I wish it would have been me that died instead of him. And so I was 17 years old at this time. My crime, he got busted right there at the scene, right? Because another undercover was coming to this restaurant to eat, and when he was running, he was running so fast he fell on top of this undercover car, and I was running the other way, and I heard somebody said, "Freeze! Turn around!" So I turned around, and I didn't see no badge. No, I just seen a guy point a gun at me. So he started shooting at me. I started shooting at him. He's an undercover. He didn't hit me. I didn't hit him. And then I ran all the way home. My mother had bars on her house, so I got rid of everything but that jacket. And I was sitting in the living room, and my mother had bars on her house, and I can remember hearing these sirens getting closer and closer to my mom's house. And I was thinking, I know he ain't told. So sure enough, The police pulled up front, and I seen him in the back, like lean up, like nod with his head, which house, and they just surrounded the house. And
You saw your partner in the back seat.
they cried me, my crime me,
Yeah.
yeah. He told where I lived at. So the police surrounded the house. I wouldn't open the door. My mom had bars in her house, and eventually they just left. And then an hour later, I left. But then my sister came home about 2:30 from school. I didn't tell her what was going on, and I was on probation for those little petty stuff I was arrested for.
Right.
So the detectives came by the house. She thought it was a probation officer looking for me. And they asked her, was I in my room? She said no. They said, would you mind if we come in and look? She said sure. So she let them in. They go to her room, they open the closet, and they seen the jacket. And the victim had died with a piece of the material in his hand. So they matched that with the jacket. And then that's when it's all buttoned, the helicopter looking, and you know, everything's just crazy. And my mom eventually took me to the police station because she was fearful that I was gonna get killed or didn't want to go to jail. So I went with her, turned myself in, and I was 17 years old. And show you how corrupt the system is. I was 17, juvenile. The detectives was trying to get me to confess and talk. They were giving me coffee and cigarettes. I mean, we smoked a whole pack of cigarettes together. I still wouldn't talk. So they took me to the juvenile hall, and I wound up getting bounded over, tried as an adult because of the case that I did for my homeboy that I didn't do.
Is that
You
right?
know, yeah, they said, well, we tried to rehabilitate you when you was a kid, when you was younger, and that didn't work, and you was arrested three or four other times.
So being that you had a previous conviction, they said, well, we're gonna take that, and we couldn't rehabilitate you on that one, so we gonna send you.
Yes, that, and the biggest was my crimey mother trying to save him. She came to court, and she had these little, and it was all false. She had these little Ziploc bags that he used to sell weed in. She brought a bunch of those to court, and this other stuff. She told the judge that she was trying to protect her son, that I was a gang leader in Compton.
You was a gang leader?
I was the gang leader.
17 years old.
Yeah, and I was giving these kids these little bags of weed to sell. And she brought these little bags, these little Ziploc bags, and the judge took all that into consideration.
Wow.
You know, and said my crime was sophisticated and I was the lead man, and that, you know, I coerced him into doing a crime.
Right.
You know, so my public defender on that case told me if I took a plea for 25 years of life, I would still go to California Youth Authority and get out when I was on my 25th birthday.
Really? Is that right?
Yeah. So he said all I had to do was go to the reception center, California Youth Authority, and do a good program. Don't get in no trouble. They're going to do a 90-day observation, like study me.
Right.
So I went there for observation, and I went there with another Williams. His name was John Williams. My name is Nate Williams. We both was gang members, and we went up in there. He was messing up, getting sent back to his room, but we both was in the same units the whole time we was there. So when he was messing up, every time they would tell him you messing up or whatever, and telling him to go to his room, they was marking it on my car.
It was marking you.
Yeah, because when it came time for them to decide whether I go to prison or commit to YA, it was like a committee. You had a head, like a program administrator, you had a psych, and you had a counselor. Well, this counselor kept saying that I was doing all type of, you know, like I was disciplinary problem. And I knew I had to do a good program.
Wasn't you?
I did a good program. I said, well, all right, they already had their mind set up for me to go to prison, no matter what I said. So they denied me and locked me up. And then this other John Williams went in there, just knowing he not gonna get it because he was messing up. They let him come to my cell, and he's crying. He's saying they accepted me, and they said I did a good program.
Is that right?
And we both looked at each other and said, man, they got us mixed up. He said, they do. I said, go tell the lady they got us mixed up. He said, I will. But he didn't, because I seen him 20 years later. He was on another case in prison, and I asked him, I said, you know, when we was in YA, did you go back and tell those people that they had us mixed up? He said, no, and you probably wouldn't either. So.
Wow, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. So at 17 years old, you were sent to the Adults Authority, Department of Corrections at the time, for a sentence of what, 15 years of life?
25 years of life, with the possibility of parole.
25 years of life. And you served, how much time did you serve?
I served 32 years inside and 3 years out here.
32
discharged.
years. Yeah, 32 years inside.
and it was a challenge going inside as a kid, because if had I not been a gang member, I've seen people my age get raped, or their parents had to pay money for them to be safely in there during their time. I've been around individuals that was not real gangsters and will say, I can't do this. I'm not a real gangster. But me saying, no, don't say that. Somebody else might hear you say that and think you weak.
Right.
And then this individual go back to his cell and hang himself.
Right.
Because he was saying he wasn't made out for this.
Exactly.
He couldn't do this.
Exactly.
I mean, so
yeah.
had I not been a gang member, it might have been different for me. I might not be here today.
Right. Yeah. Well, going in the system at the time, did you went in the system? It was kind of rough. You went. Where did you start your time?
San Quentin. It was very violent. It's not like it is now. It was a lot of killings.
How long did you stay in San Quentin?
10 years.
And then you went where?
Then I went to Tehachapi. Then I came back to San Quentin. Then I went to Vacaville, and then I needed a trade, so I went to Tracy. Vocational trade. They had a lot of
with the
vocational
Tracy,
trade.
it was the gladiator school when you went to Tracy. So there was a lot of killing going on there.
Yeah.
So you're a young man in a system where you don't know nothing about. You're going into what they call a fishbowl of predators.
Yeah.
Killing people. They got the North and the South killing each other at war, full war, and it was crazy. And you, so when you went in the system, how did you adjust?
It was kind of hard at first, but then I started looking. I heard this gentleman say, he said, things are not as bad as they appear to be. So it's like a false hope, like nothing's going to be as bad as it looked, even though it looks, and it was real bad. But I would psych myself out that saying that it's not as bad. And then I would put a mask on, like I was tough. But inside I didn't want to be there. I didn't want people to know that, I was really fearful. But I put on that mask to where, if you looked at me, you would have thought I was not fearful. But when I laid my head down on a pillow, I was like, I don't want to be here.
Right.
Yeah.
It's rough in that system. People don't understand on our side, and these youngsters that's watching the show tonight, they don't understand that, once you get in that systems, you might not come out.
Exactly.
Even to this day, you might not come out because they say the wheels of justice turn slow, but it's when you get inside prison, it's just like a cycle. It goes on and on and on. It keeps on repeating itself. From the old to the good, to the old to the new, whatever. But it keeps on going on, and now it's to the point to where it's getting bad again.
Exactly.
They got a younger generation going into the system, and they going in with Buck Rogers style. I mean, talking about 200, 300 years.
Yeah, like 25 is nothing. It's like
nothing.
They start at 50 to life.
Exactly. Now,
Yeah.
To oppose when you and I went in, it was 25, 15 years of life. They don't even get that no more.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They give them a lot of time. So youngsters going in now, they got to put work in going in. They got to go in, they got to get their ground, and they putting work in, and it's getting worse now. And so, it's fortunate that we come out at the time that we come out, because we at the age now that we through. We don't want to get involved no more. We through. But if you're in the system now, and you're part of that environment, you're gonna have to get involved whether you want to get involved or not.
Exactly.
If it's about saving your life. So you parole. When did you parole?
November 2011.
So you've been out 3 years now.
Yes.
Okay, you discharged. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
well, congratulations, and I say that with emphasis. Congratulations for having the chain off your neck.
Yeah.
You're able to do the thing that you want to do, go where you want to go, and come back when you want to come back. You ain't got to report to nobody.
Nobody.
So, like I say, welcome back to the world. Literally.
And I just got my passport last Friday, so I can really go abroad.
Is that right? You got a passport. That's right.
Once you get off parole, you get that passport.
That's right.
Yeah.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you came home. You went to school in prison.
Yeah.
And you got some education in prison. What kind of education did you get in prison?
Coastline Community College helped me a lot. What happened with my daughter? I had a daughter in prison. I used to sell drugs in prison, and they never could figure out how I was bringing all these drugs in, right? So they gave me a false dirty test to watch my visitors, see who they was contacting. But I wasn't doing nothing. But my daughter reacted she started crying because I'm behind glass. So she was like going crazy over this glass, banging. And I started feeling like I was treating her the same way my father was treating me. He was never there for her, never there for me, and just caused, pain for me. And I said I will never make her ever cry again, but I had to do home, I had to do work on myself, to change. So I started looking at people, what they was doing, to stay out of holes, positive things they was doing. I started going to certain places, NAAA, Straight Life program, Scared Straight, wound up going in that program, working with kids. And I was telling these kids, stay in school, get your high school diploma, go to college, live the American dream. This one kid asked me, do you have yours, your high school diploma? And I said, yeah, I lied. But I felt like a hypocrite afterwards. So I resigned out of the program, it took me about 90 days to get my GED. But I got it, and then I got back in the program, and I was able to tell these kids, stay in school, live the American dream.
Really mean to have something behind it.
And show them,
Right.
because I had my GEDs, and show it to them. Right. But little did I know that GED allowed me to go up in those vocational trade school, get a trade, and more importantly, college. I was able to go to Coastline Correspondent College, pay my way. The books cost anywhere from $100 to $150. So like 5 or 6 of us would piece up on a book, and we go through that subject. Right. So when I came home, I had above an AA, but not quite a bachelor's degree. So I was in San Francisco State doing the program, and California Institute of Integral Study right here in San Francisco, CIS, they came to me and said, we heard Michelle Alexander helped you get out of prison. I said, yeah. They say, would you mind inviting her to our school? We're trying to do a fundraiser for a person coming out of prison, give a scholarship to. I said, okay. So they introduced me. I introduced Michelle Alexander to their schools. They raised a lot of money. I should have asked for a lot more money, but they gave me $10,000 college scholarship towards a college education if I came to their school, CIS. And they told me I can get my bachelor's in 1 year instead of 2 and 3 years at San Francisco State. So I left San Francisco State and went to CIS and graduated from CIS with my bachelor's degree.
Your bachelor's degree?
Bachelor's degree.
Congratulations again. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Congratulations again. Well, we we commend you for the work that you've done since you've been home. You're a role model for the lifers coming home from prison. A lot of people talk about you. And I met you in 2005 when I got to DVI. And things was moving forward then. You was on your way out. So I commend you. It's a pleasure for me to know you. Because like I say, since you've been on, you put work in. You come in, you come out with your feet moving. And I tried to emulate it. Coming home from prison.
Stay hungry.
Exactly. Stay hungry. So we have to do the things that we have to do when we get back on this side of the fence. But like I said, I want to thank Nate for coming on to the show tonight, and I want to give the youngsters a little inspiration that once you go into that system, you do what you do. We young, we do things that we have to do coming up. But when you get to a certain age, the light comes on, it flicks on, and we got to start doing better. Let's say if you don't know any better, you can't do no better.
Exactly.
But once you learn better, you start doing better.
Exactly.
And we learn better, we start doing better. So today we want to keep on doing what we're doing, move forward, and thank you for coming on the show. We appreciate you.
Bro.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank
you, my brother. All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah,
all right. Thank you. We'll see you guys next Saturday at 7 o'clock. And look at this show. We'll be on in a couple of weeks. So we'll see you guys and have a good weekend and a good week.